What happens when the people you trust most betray you in silence? Claire wiped the counter for the third time, her movements automatic, almost robotic. The cafe was quiet, the hum of the coffee machines now a soft background melody. She glanced outside at the streets of her small city, cars passing, streetlights flickering to life as the evening set in. Normally, she would enjoy these last few moments at work, a pause before heading home. But tonight, something felt different. There was a heaviness in the air she couldn't shake, a tension she didn't understand. Her thoughts drifted to Daniel, her husband. He had been distant lately, working late nights, taking more trips than usual, and when he was home, the silence between them was almost unbearable. Their small apartment, once filled with laughter and shared mornings, now felt like a stage where two strangers simply coexisted. Claire had tried to ignore it, telling herself that work stress, deadlines, and fatigue explained his absence. But the unease in her chest kept growing. The bell above the cafe door rang suddenly, snapping her out of her thoughts. A customer? She looked up, expecting a familiar face, but the cafe was nearly empty. And there he was with Lucas, her 14-year-old son, standing hesitantly in the doorway. His eyes, wide and serious, seemed far older than his age. "Mom, can we talk?" His voice was soft, almost fragile. Claire's heart skipped a beat. Lucas never came here after school unless it was urgent. She gestured for him to sit, trying to mask the rising panic in her chest. "Of course, honey. What's wrong?" He stepped inside, avoiding eye contact. There was a small piece of paper in his hand, folded tightly as if it contained something precious or terrifying. The cafe, now empty except for them, suddenly felt like a confessional, a place where secrets could spill out under the dim glow of the evening lights. I found something," Lucas said, his voice trembling slightly. "Something about Dad." Claire's stomach twisted. She could feel her pulse quicken. The day had already left her tired, but now a surge of fear and anticipation flooded her senses. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice steadier than she felt. Lucas slowly unfolded the paper. It was a receipt, dated just a week ago, from a hotel in the city. Her eyes scanned the details: Daniel's name, a note of a late-night stay, the kind of thing that shouldn't have existed in their lives. Claire felt a cold wave wash over her, followed by a thundering heartbeat. "Mom." "I didn't want to believe it," Lucas whispered, his hands fidgeting nervously. "But I found this, and I couldn't keep it from you." Claire sank onto a stool, her hands gripping the edge of the counter as though it could anchor her to reality. Memories flashed through her mind, the late evenings when Daniel returned home smelling faintly of cologne she didn't recognize, the phone calls he quickly ended when she entered the room, the small lies that had once seemed trivial but now formed a troubling pattern. I need to understand," Claire said, her voice breaking slightly. "Lucas, how did you find this?" Lucas hesitated. I saw him. I was supposed to meet a friend nearby, and I saw him going into the hotel. I didn't want to believe it. I followed him for a bit, and then I found this receipt." His hands shook as he handed the paper to Claire again. "I wanted you to know the truth before it got worse." Claire felt tears prick her eyes. She had tried to shield Lucas from adult problems for years, to protect him from disappointment and heartbreak. But now, here he was, carrying a secret he shouldn't have had to carry, and thrusting it into her lap. Her mind raced. How could Daniel do this? How could the man she loved, the man she trusted, be keeping something so significant from both of them? The cafe lights cast soft shadows across the room, and Claire felt the weight of silence pressing down. She wanted to scream, to call Daniel, to confront him immediately. But she knew that whatever she did next needed thought. Her emotions were raw, a mix of betrayal, anger, and fear. Lucas sat quietly, sensing her struggle. "Mom. I just want you to be careful," he said. His young face was set in a serious expression, and Claire realized that her son, despite his age, was already becoming wise beyond his years. "I don't want you to get hurt any more than you already might be." Claire exhaled slowly, trying to regain some control over the whirlwind of feelings. "I need to see him," she murmured. "I need to hear it from him. I need to understand everything." Lucas shook his head gently. "I think you should be careful. He might try to explain, but don't let him hide it again. Promise me, Mom." Claire nodded, though doubt gnawed at her. She knew Lucas was right, Daniel could be good at hiding the truth. But still, she felt an irresistible pull, a need to face him, to confront the man she had loved for over a decade. She needed answers, even if they hurt. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the floor. Claire closed her eyes for a moment, imagining the conversation she dreaded. How would he explain? Would it be a misunderstanding, a mistake, or something far worse? The uncertainty was unbearable, yet she knew she couldn't avoid it any longer. "Lucas, thank you for telling me," Claire said softly, placing a hand on his shoulder. "I know it wasn't easy. I promise I'll be careful." He nodded, but the fear in his eyes was unmistakable. He had seen a side of life too soon, a reality that no child should have to face. And now, he had put his trust in her, hoping she could handle the truth. As the cafe clock ticked past closing time, Claire gathered the courage to prepare herself for the confrontation ahead. She wiped down the counters one last time, her movements deliberate, each action helping her steady the storm of emotions inside. The quiet of the empty cafe felt almost eerie now, like the calm before a storm. Lucas lingered near the door, watching her with a mixture of worry and hope. Claire looked at him, her heart aching for both of them. "We'll get through this," she whispered. But even as the words left her lips, doubt gnawed at her. How could they get through something so big, so shattering, that involved the man they both loved? She stepped outside into the cool evening air, Lucas by her side, the city lights reflecting off the pavement. Every step toward home felt heavy, each one echoing in her mind like a drumbeat of anticipation. She knew that once she crossed the threshold, there would be no turning back. The truth would be laid bare, and whatever lay behind the doors of their apartment would either break her completely or force her to confront the reality of her marriage. Claire took a deep breath, feeling the weight of both fear and determination. Lucas's hand brushed against hers briefly, a small gesture of comfort and solidarity. In that moment, she realized that no matter what happened next, she was not alone, and then, as she reached the door of her apartment building, she froze. Something felt off. The familiar comfort of home, the place where she should have felt safe, now seemed alien. A shadow moved inside, a figure she recognized instantly, Daniel. But the way he stood there, hesitant and guarded, made her chest tighten with a mix of dread and longing. Her pulse quickened. Everything she had feared, everything Lucas had revealed, converged in this single moment. Claire's hand trembled on the doorknob. The confrontation she had been dreading was finally here. Claire opened the door, and froze, her heart pounding, because what she saw inside her own home would change everything she thought she knew about her husband. Can a secret tear your family apart before you even realize it? Claire closed the apartment door behind her, the faint click echoing like a warning in the quiet hall. Her chest was tight, and the paper Lucas had given her felt like a stone in her hand. She sank onto the edge of the couch, staring at the receipt over and over, trying to process it. It wasn't just a piece of paper. It was a key, a door into a part of her husband's life she hadn't known existed, a part that had been hidden from her, maybe for months. Her mind raced. Daniel had been distant, yes, but she had thought it was work stress, exhaustion, the kind of everyday strain that came with adulthood. She had never imagined he could be hiding something like this. Every memory of him came under scrutiny, the late-night phone calls, the unexplained dinners, the quick exits when she tried to talk about their marriage. Each one now felt like a piece of a puzzle she didn't want to complete. Lucas was standing near the window, his small frame tense. He had grown up fast in the last few weeks, watching the cracks appear in their family. "Mom. I didn't want to believe it either," he said quietly, his voice shaking. "I kept thinking maybe it was a mistake, maybe I misunderstood. But I saw him, Mom. I saw him going into that hotel." Claire's eyes widened. She hadn't realized how much she had been ignoring, how much she had wanted to believe everything was fine. She reached out and held Lucas's hand, feeling the weight of his trust. "Thank you for telling me," she said softly. "I know it wasn't easy. I promise I'll be careful." But even as she said it, a wave of anger and betrayal surged inside her. How could Daniel, the man she had loved and trusted for over a decade, keep something like this from her? Was this a momentary mistake, or something deeper, something that would shatter everything she believed in? Lucas handed her the receipt again, as if passing a torch of truth. Claire studied it carefully. It was from a hotel downtown, dated just a week ago, signed with Daniel's name. The thought of him being there, so close to home, yet keeping it from her, made her stomach twist. Her hands shook slightly as she set the paper down. I need to talk to him," she whispered. "I need to hear everything from him, no matter what it is." Lucas's face fell. "Mom, please be careful. He might try to explain it, but don't let him hide anything. Promise me." Claire nodded, feeling the seriousness in his tone. He was right. She couldn't allow Daniel to manipulate or deflect. Not now. Not after Lucas had carried this burden alone. She took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. The confrontation would be difficult, painful, and emotional, but it was necessary. As the evening deepened, Claire prepared herself for the conversation. She moved through their apartment like a soldier readying for battle, each small action helping her calm the storm of emotions inside. She thought about Daniel, picturing him arriving home later that night, and the way he would look, probably tired, maybe guilty, but possibly charming in that way that made her heart ache despite everything. The door opened, and there he was. Daniel stepped inside, carrying the familiar scent of his cologne and coffee. He looked at her and paused, noticing her expression. Something shifted in his eyes, a flash of guilt that immediately made Claire's chest tighten. "Claire," he started, his voice careful, measured. She raised a hand, stopping him mid-sentence. "Daniel, I need the truth. No excuses. No lies. No hiding. I know about the hotel." His face went pale, and for a moment, he looked like a man caught in a trap he hadn't anticipated. "Claire, it's not what you think," he said quickly, stepping closer. Claire's heart pounded. "Then explain it," she demanded. "Because right now, it looks like betrayal, and Lucas saw it too." Daniel sighed, running a hand through his hair. I didn't want to tell you because I didn't know how. It's complicated, Claire. I didn't want to hurt you. I thought I could handle it, but I was wrong." Lucas watched silently from the corner, his eyes wide. Claire could see the fear in him, the worry that their family might fall apart. She clenched her fists, feeling a mixture of anger and longing. Daniel had been her partner, her confidant, the man she had loved. And yet now, standing in front of him, she felt like she barely knew him. "What is it, Daniel? Tell me," Claire said, her voice rising but controlled. He looked at her, then at Lucas, then back at her. "There's a woman from my past," he admitted, his voice low. "Someone I used to care about, someone I never really got closure with. I didn't know how to face it, so I tried to manage it without hurting you." Claire felt her chest tighten. Her mind screamed at her. Why would he put himself in that situation? Why would he risk their family for someone from his past? She wanted to scream, cry, and run all at once. "Daniel, you didn't just hide a lunch date or a small mistake," Claire said, her voice trembling. "You kept something like this from me, something that could destroy us. Do you realize what that means?" "I do, Claire. And I'm sorry. I made a mistake. I never wanted this to happen," he said, his eyes glistening with regret. "I was scared of losing you, scared of hurting Lucas. But hiding it has made everything worse." Lucas shifted, his small voice breaking the tense silence. "Mom. I just wanted you to know the truth. That's all. I don't want secrets anymore." Claire looked at her son, her heart aching for him. He had seen the shadow of betrayal too soon, and now he was watching her navigate it. "I know, Lucas," she whispered, brushing his hair back. "We'll figure this out together." For a few moments, the apartment was silent. Claire's mind raced with emotions, anger, disappointment, heartbreak, but also a flicker of understanding. Daniel's confession wasn't about a current affair, it was about a mistake from the past, something he hadn't dealt with properly. But the line between past and present was blurred now, and trust felt fragile, like a thin glass ready to shatter. Daniel stepped closer, reaching for her hand. Claire didn't pull away, but she didn't take it either. She needed to process, to think, to understand whether the love they shared could survive this revelation. "I don't know if I can forgive this right now," Claire said quietly. "I need time. I need space. And I need honesty, every single day from now on." Daniel nodded, a mix of relief and fear in his eyes. "I'll do whatever it takes, Claire. I swear." The evening stretched on, heavy with unspoken words and emotions. Claire moved toward the window, staring out at the city lights, trying to steady her thoughts. Lucas stood beside her, his small hand finding hers once more. There was comfort in his presence, a reminder that no matter what happened, she had someone to lean on, someone who had been brave enough to show her the truth. Claire turned back to Daniel, her mind racing with possibilities. Could they rebuild what had been broken? Could trust be restored after secrets like this? Her heart ached with longing and uncertainty, and yet, a tiny spark of hope lingered. Just as Claire was about to confront Daniel with more questions, the phone on the kitchen counter buzzed, a message from an unknown number. She picked it up, her hands trembling, and froze. The words on the screen hinted that there was more Daniel hadn't told them, something that could change everything. Do you confront the truth or let the illusion survive? Claire felt her chest tighten as she held the phone in her hand, the unknown message glowing faintly on the screen. The words were brief, cryptic, and enough to make her pulse race. "There's more you need to know. Meet me before midnight. Alone." Her stomach churned. Who would send this? Was it someone connected to Daniel's past, or something else entirely? She glanced at Lucas. His eyes were wide, full of worry and curiosity. He had grown quiet since the earlier revelation, but now, even at 14, he sensed the tension that only adults fully understood. "Mom, what is it?" he asked softly. "I don't know yet," Claire whispered, slipping the phone into her pocket. "But I have to find out. I can't ignore this." She paused, realizing the danger of acting without thought, but also the weight of not knowing. It was unbearable. Lucas nodded silently, trusting her, yet his small hand lingered near hers, a silent shield of support. Across the living room, Daniel watched, his expression unreadable. "Claire, please, let me explain everything first. You don't have to meet anyone. I can tell you myself," he said, his voice steady but strained. Claire turned to face him, her eyes locking on his. "Daniel, I need to hear the truth from the beginning. No more hiding, no more lies. Everything." He swallowed hard, the guilt etched on his face. "All right. I'll tell you everything. But I can't promise it will be easy to hear." Claire took a deep breath, steeling herself. She had always known relationships were complicated, but nothing had prepared her for the labyrinth of secrets Daniel had created. She realized that trust, once broken, demanded patience, honesty, and courage to rebuild. Daniel began slowly, recounting details from months ago, his old connection with a woman named Vanessa, someone who had been significant in his past but who he hadn't spoken about openly. It wasn't about an affair in the present, he insisted, but unresolved feelings, memories, and moments of weakness that had led him to make questionable choices. Claire listened, her mind racing with images of Daniel sneaking around, small lies he told, moments she had brushed off as trivial. Each revelation tightened the knot in her chest. How could the man she trusted completely be capable of this? And yet, as Daniel spoke, she noticed something else, the raw honesty in his voice, the fear of losing her, the regret that seemed to consume him. Lucas shifted beside her, sensing the weight of the conversation. Claire reached out and touched his shoulder. It's okay, Lucas. You don't need to say anything right now. Just listen. Daniel's eyes flickered toward Lucas, a mixture of shame and tenderness. I never wanted him to know this way, he said softly. I was trying to protect him, but I see now that protecting him by hiding the truth only made it worse. Claire's heart softened slightly. The situation was painful, yes, but there was a thread of honesty, a chance to mend what had been broken. Still, anger lingered, a reminder that love alone could not erase betrayal. Daniel, why did you go to that hotel? Claire asked, her voice firm but not cruel. He looked down, ashamed. I thought I could face Vanessa, talk to her one last time to close that chapter. I didn't know how to do it without lying to you. I thought I could handle it secretly, just once, and then it would be over. Claire exhaled slowly, trying to steady herself. So, you risked everything, our family, Lucas, me, for a meeting that could have been handled differently? Yes, Daniel admitted. And I was wrong. I see that now. I should have been honest from the start. I should have trusted you to handle the truth. I failed you both. The room was silent for a moment. Claire could hear her own heartbeat, loud in the stillness. Lucas looked between his parents, trying to process the adult world unfolding in front of him. Claire's eyes softened toward him, a mixture of love and sorrow. Her son had seen too much, too soon, and she wished she could shield him from the consequences of adult mistakes. I don't know if I can forgive this, Daniel, Claire said, her voice trembling. It's not just about Vanessa or the hotel. It's the hiding, the secrecy. It's everything you didn't tell me when you should have. I know, Daniel said quietly. I can't erase what I did. I can only show you that I'm willing to be honest, from now on, every single day. I'll do whatever it takes to rebuild your trust. Lucas spoke softly, his small voice cutting through the tension. Mom, maybe he really is sorry. Maybe he wants to fix things. Claire looked at her son, seeing both the innocence and the wisdom in his words. She realized he was right. Daniel's remorse was genuine, and while it didn't erase the hurt, it offered a path forward. However difficult, Daniel stepped closer, reaching out, but Claire held up a hand. I need time, she said firmly. I need space to think, to understand if love can survive this. He nodded, understanding her boundaries. Take all the time you need, Claire. I'll wait. I'll prove to you that I can be the man you believed I was. The evening stretched on, heavy with unspoken words and tentative hope. Claire moved to the window, looking out at the city lights, trying to steady her thoughts. The streets below seemed alive with possibilities and dangers alike, a reminder that life was unpredictable, fragile, and full of surprises. Lucas stayed close, his hand brushing against hers. There was comfort in his presence, a reminder that no matter what happened between Claire and Daniel, she had someone to protect, someone who had already shown courage in the face of uncertainty. Then, just as Claire began to feel a small measure of calm, the phone buzzed again. Another message. This one was different, urgent, almost threatening in its tone. If you want the full truth, meet me tonight. Don't tell Daniel. Claire's heart raced. She looked at Daniel, who had been honest so far, but even his sincerity couldn't prepare her for this. The unknown sender, the secrecy, the timing, it was all too much. Mom, what is it now? Lucas asked, sensing the new tension. Claire felt a mixture of fear and determination. It's someone who knows more than we do, she said quietly. And I need to find out what they want. I can't ignore it. Daniel's face tightened. Claire, please, don't do this alone. It could be dangerous, or it could complicate everything. Let me come with you. She shook her head. No, Daniel. I have to do this myself. This is about the truth, and it's something I need to face on my own. I can't risk secrets anymore, not from anyone. Lucas nodded, understanding despite his age. He trusted his mother, even as fear flickered in his eyes. Be careful, Mom, he whispered. Claire took a deep breath, steeling herself. She knew that whatever she discovered tonight could either break her family completely or finally provide the closure they all needed. The weight of the unknown pressed down on her, but she felt a strange surge of courage. She had faced betrayal, secrecy, and heartache, and she was determined not to let it control her life. The clock ticked closer to midnight. Claire slipped on her jacket, her hand steady despite the storm of emotions inside. Daniel watched silently, hope and worry warring in his expression. Lucas held her hand briefly, then let go, giving her the freedom to confront the mystery alone. As Claire stepped out into the night, the city lights glittered like distant promises. She felt both fear and resolve, knowing that the next few hours would reveal truths that could change everything. She had no idea what awaited her, but one thing was certain: her life, her marriage, and her family would never be the same. Claire rounded the corner to the meeting place, and froze. Standing under the dim glow of a streetlight was someone she never expected, someone who held the key to a truth even Daniel hadn't shared, a revelation that could shatter or save everything she loved. Can love survive the cracks of betrayal? Claire froze under the dim glow of the streetlight, her breath catching in her throat. The figure standing before her was familiar, and yet, the presence made her heart skip a beat in confusion and fear. Her eyes adjusted, and she realized it was Vanessa, the woman Daniel had mentioned, but there was something in her expression, a nervous tension, that made Claire instinctively step closer, defensive yet curious. Vanessa's voice trembled as she spoke. Claire. I didn't mean for you to find out like this. I couldn't keep it from you anymore. Claire felt her chest tighten. Every step of the past few days, the receipt, the messages, Lucas's discovery, Daniel's confessions, had led to this moment. She wanted answers, clarity, a truth that wasn't tangled in half-lies or regret. But standing here, face to face with someone who had been part of Daniel's past, she felt both danger and revelation hovering in the same space. What do you want to tell me? Claire asked, her voice steady, though inside she was a storm of emotions. Vanessa looked down, then back at her. It's not what you think. I never wanted to hurt your family. I know Daniel has made mistakes, but the meeting, it was never about betrayal. It was about closure, about him finally facing what happened years ago. Claire's eyes narrowed. Years ago? Closure? From what? From you? Yes, Vanessa admitted. I had feelings for him once, yes, but I'm not here to start anything new. I just wanted to tell the truth so no more secrets remain. You deserve that, Claire. A surge of relief mixed with skepticism flowed through Claire. She wanted to believe her husband's words, but the fear of being hurt again was raw and immediate. Every lie, every hidden moment, made trust feel fragile. Could she ever fully believe him again? Lucas had insisted she meet alone, and she realized he had been right. This was a confrontation she needed to handle herself, to face the truths head-on without the buffer of protection. Her mind flashed back to Daniel's eyes, the remorse in his voice, the way he had confessed everything he could. I need to understand everything, Claire said, her voice firm. From the beginning. Why did he hide this? Why the secrecy? Vanessa took a deep breath, steadying herself. Because it was complicated. Because he was scared. You have to understand, Claire, Daniel never wanted to hurt you. He was trying to fix his past mistakes before they destroyed his present. I only came tonight to make sure the truth came out, nothing more. Claire studied her, seeing sincerity mixed with hesitation. It was a strange relief, finally, some clarity, but it was also a heavy responsibility. The truth was revealed, but it wasn't simple. She had to decide how to handle it, how to confront Daniel, and how to rebuild the fractured trust in her marriage. Her phone buzzed again, and she resisted the urge to check it immediately. Instead, she focused on the moment, on the woman standing before her, and on the storm of emotions that had built inside her over the past days. Anger, betrayal, sorrow, love, all collided at once, a chaotic blend that left her breathless. Claire knew she couldn't let fear control her decisions. She needed to face Daniel, to hear him speak, to gauge whether the man she loved, the one who had been part of her life for so long, was still the man she could trust. When she returned home, Daniel was waiting. His expression was tense, hopeful, and vulnerable all at once. "Claire, you met her?" he asked, careful not to step too close. "Yes," Claire said quietly. "And I understand. She didn't mean to hurt us, and neither did you. But Daniel, we can't move forward unless every secret is gone. Every fear, every lie gone." Daniel nodded slowly. "I understand. And I'll do whatever it takes. I'll be honest, always. I promise." Claire's eyes softened, but she knew promises alone weren't enough. Trust had to be rebuilt through actions, through consistency, through the courage to be completely transparent. She thought of Lucas, standing strong beside her throughout this ordeal, carrying a burden no child should ever have to carry. She had to make the right choice, not just for herself and Daniel, but for their son. Daniel reached for her hand, but she hesitated. The temptation to take it, to forgive, to return to the comfort of familiarity, was strong. Yet she reminded herself that trust could not be forced, it had to be earned. She nodded slowly, acknowledging his gesture without yet accepting it fully. Lucas entered the room quietly, a mix of hope and anxiety in his eyes. "Mom. Dad, are we okay?" His question was innocent, yet it carried the weight of everything they had been through. Claire knelt down and hugged him tightly. "We're going to try, Lucas. We're going to face this together, and we're going to be honest, no matter how hard it gets." Daniel watched, his own eyes glistening. He stepped closer, and for the first time in days, the three of them felt a fragile sense of unity. It was a small victory, a glimmer of hope amidst the chaos. But Claire knew the road ahead would not be easy. Forgiveness wasn't instant, and love didn't erase mistakes. The night stretched on, and Claire reflected on everything, the fear, the secrets, the revelations, and the honesty that finally emerged. She realized that life didn't offer simple answers, but it did offer choices. And tonight, she had a choice: to walk away from everything she loved because of betrayal, or to take the risk, face the pain, and try to rebuild what had been broken. The clock ticked past midnight, and the city outside was quiet. Claire stood by the window, looking out at the streetlights and the distant glow of the city skyline. She felt both fear and determination, knowing that the next days, weeks, and months would define her family's future. Trust could be fragile, love could be tested, but resilience and honesty had the power to heal even the deepest wounds. She turned to Daniel, who watched her silently. "I need time," she said softly. "But I also need honesty. Every day. No exceptions." Daniel nodded, accepting her terms without argument. "I'll do it, Claire. I swear." Lucas hugged her again, and for a moment, the three of them stood together in quiet strength. The fear of betrayal was still there, but the courage to face it, the willingness to rebuild, created a new foundation. Claire realized something important: love wasn't just about happiness. It was about courage, honesty, forgiveness, and the strength to face the unknown together. And maybe, just maybe, if they were brave enough, they could survive even the cracks left by betrayal. As she looked out at the city, Claire's phone buzzed one last time. A new message appeared, from an unknown number: "You're closer to the truth than you think. Be ready for what's coming next." Her heart skipped a beat, realizing that even with honesty, even with courage, life's surprises were far from over. And in that moment, Claire understood that the story of love, betrayal, and family was never truly finished, it was only evolving.